We spoke yesterday about Ravi, about the police ending the investigation, but they were just going to have a last chat with Ravi Jayaram a couple of days later. I just want to give a bit of background on Ravi. Lucy had obviously raised the grievance report about the consultants bullying her, and he was forced to apologise, write an apology. And I found this email, so this was exactly 1 month before he emailed the police officer Wenham. Having reflected on things, it seems clear that potentially slanderous statements have been made against me, and I would like to know exactly what has been said and by whom. None of my colleagues have any recollection of an ultimatum being given to the trust by myself and Steve, nor do they feel that we orchestrated a campaign against Lucy. However, it seems clear that statements given in the grievance process have suggested this to her. So it's clear he's got a grievance against he's harbouring resentment against the hospital and to Lucy for having to apologise, and it's just not looking good for him. I mean, these are emails from, these are works emails. I mean, I can't imagine writing something like that in a work environment. So it's obviously coming to a head with him. And so we talked about the police were ending it. They went to see him on the 15th of May just to have a chat. And then what have I got here? Come the 16th of May, the day later, police have reviewed information supplied by the trust and spoken with medical staff, Jayaram. I don't know, they might have chatted with a few more, and deemed further investigation as warranted. So basically what had happened is the press had, the Daily Mail had put out something, and it said that there were a further 6 officers are also looking into 6 other non-fatal cases of babies who suffered an unexpected medical collapse. So this is dated the 18th of May, which the hospital seemed to have been sort of blindsided by. So obviously that was Jayaram that had given them that. I did have the document talking about it, but I can't find it. It's not particularly relevant. But what I wanted to talk about was, so one, we know he was harbouring resentment for sure from that email, and then we know he completely stitched up Lucy by supplying the police with, I found these 6 more non-fatal collapses, even though, I mean, they looked at all the other the 15 deaths and said there's nothing to worry about. But then then somehow him supplying 6 non-fatal collapses has somehow tipped the scales. And then let's take a look at his statement on 2019 about the air embolisms. But first, I need to play this clip again from Dr. Shuli's conference.
So, to begin, I will give you a little bit of background on the publications of embolism. The prosecution, in part, based their allegation on a paper that I had written in 1989, where I described all 57 cases that had been published to that point in time. And it showed that the babies would present a certain number of symptoms or signs, and also that about 10% of them had skin discolorations of different kinds.
10%.
At that time, I did not distinguish between arterial and venous air embolism.
Arterial and venous.
In this particular case, the allegation is that she injected air into the venous system, into the veins. So there's a difference between arterial and venous, because the arteries carry blood to the body to supply the organs and the skin, whereas the veins actually carry blood away from the organs or the skin to the heart and to the lungs. And in the new paper that I had published in December of 2024 in the American Journal of Perinatology, a copy of which will be in the summary report that you will receive, we actually separated the cases with arterial venous air embolism from the cases with venous air embolism. And what we found was that in the cases where air was injected into the veins, there were no cases of patchy skin discolorations ever described in the literature. So the notion that these babies can be diagnosed with air embolism because they collapsed and had these skin discolorations has no evidence in fact.
Okay, I'll stop there. You get the gist of it. He does continue a bit more. This is Ravi Jayaram's statement in 2019. Now, you need to bear in mind that on none of his records, or maybe some of them, maybe one or two of them had actually described a rash or something. A couple of them had described a rash, but in his statement, I'd have to go back in and take a look. But some of them, for sure, he had never described a rash on the baby, and he's now backfilling this rash. So child A, he had this is his statement from Ravi Jayaram 2019. Child A, he had unusual discoloration. You'd expect babies to look fairly ghastly and pale and grey, but he had an odd sort of discoloration where there were flitting patches of pink areas on the background of bluey grey skin. These patches seemed to appear and disappear. It wasn't like the rash seen with a meningococcal sepsis, which is caused by blood vessels bursting. It would flit and reappear and disappear. It didn't fit with anything I'd ever seen before. So bearing in mind, he hadn't written about these rashes or anything in his notes like before now. I would describe the marks as blotches, which were fairly ill-defined, about 1 centimetre to 2 centimetres, not discretely round, but blotchy patches of brighter pinkness on a background of bluey grey. After around 30 minutes of resuscitation, child A had no spontaneous cardiac activity, and after discussion with his parents, resuscitation was stopped. Child M, once again well underway, displayed the same type of unusual blotching as child A. Fortunately, child M survived. Again, I don't think there was any record of him noting any of these blotches, rashes in the medical records. No, this strange blotching didn't fit with anything I'd ever seen before in my 27 years as a paediatrician, but it happened on child A, child B, child A's sister, who collapsed the next night, although I was not involved in resuscitation, and child M, and I began to wonder whether there was some common cause. I did some research, and one of the things that I came across was the possibility of something called an air embolism. I found a review paper, an old academic paper written in the 1980s, which looked at case series of air embolism in babies. I produced a copy of this paper as evidence, so that would be Dr. Shulei's paper. So, was dangerous and could kill you. So, he's obviously perjured himself by pretending that he remembers seeing symptoms when he didn't, and we know, and even if he did see these symptoms, which he didn't, the reason he's doing it is for this. He's just perjured himself. It's obvious. It's criminal. This is criminal, surely. Surely. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems pretty wrong to me, because you can't, like Dr. Shulei said, it doesn't even happen. One, it's 10% of the cases, and two, he's distinguished between arterial and venal. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but surely there must be laws against this.